It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix.
Look, there go Jason. He be rapping. He be getting all the girls. Man, look at there he go. There he go, man. Man, one day I want to be like him. He gonna put Riverside on the map.
Sometimes I wonder, can I do it by myself? By myself. Sometimes I wonder, can I just do it all by myself? All by myself. Sometimes I wonder, can I do it by myself? Can I do it by myself? Sometimes I wonder, can I just do it all by myself? All by myself. It was peace, it was Monday. Nah, let me think it was Sunday. The beach, relaxing, we smooth. The hurdles, track number 2. Ride with me, you can slide with me, and you can glide with me. I can take you to Castle Park, and we can do many things truly after dark. Old Town, Riverside, Victoria Grove, Los Sierra Stroll. Yes. Or we can take a trip to downtown. If you down, show the pound. Sometimes I wonder, can I do it by myself? Can I do it by myself? Sometimes I wonder, can I just do it all by myself? All by myself. Is it going out? Tell people to go. Feeling the breeze, man. You know, I had a lot of people tell me that I would not make it. I had a lot of people put me down, but I never gave up. I believed in my dream. I've been born and living in the ship of success. I make love the best.
Start me from the top, man.
Maybe it's the weed got me. Maybe it's these trees got me. Maybe it's these hoes got me. Maybe it's this stroll that got me. Maybe it's these clothes got me. Maybe it's these laws got me. Maybe it's my dogs got me. Maybe it's these bras got me. Maybe it's this man that got me. Maybe it's my clan that got me. Maybe it's my fam that got me. My plans. The Matrix.
When I wake up in the morning, I wake up in the morning, putting my read in my Bible paper. Laws, I can see them later. Middle finger up.
How y'all doing? All aboard! It is time to fly and hop aboard my spaceship, because you are now tuned into What is the Matrix TV. I'm your craziest, coolest, most controversial host, Jason Elm Street Williams, and I am a master of the universe. This is part 2 of, I guess it's going to be a series of Brother Blue Pill, Brother Paul Moreland on the show. The other night we talked about earthquakes. We talked about Quetzalcoatl, the Birdman, Haru Tahuti. We even spoke about the Olmecs. But let's just get right into it to our special guest. They call him the Blue Pill. How you doing today, brother?
Peace. All is well. All is well, brother.
That's great, man. So we were talking about the earthquake.
Yes.
But first, let's get the audience to know more about you. I would say I'm getting to know you more. I say I know you.
Okay.
But for those people watching this worldwide, who is the Blue Pill?
Well, as you know, as the Matrix law would have it, you know what I'm saying, Morpheus presented Neo with 2 choices, the red pill or the blue pill. I happen to be a twin, so my whole life was spent in dualism. Some days I was me, some days I was my brother, some days I had to be both. You know what I'm saying? Based on the circumstances. So when that movie came out, we kind of identified with that whole aspect of duality.
Right.
And as I dwelt more on the meaning of what that movie meant and even what the options were, kind of walked away saying they kind of like faked the whole world out. Everybody's in the motherfucking Matrix. You know what I'm saying? And Neo had to take the red pill, but he had to go back into the Matrix still to defeat the Matrix. So I'm like, hey, you know, we all popping the blue pill. We all in the Matrix, and I'm living in my dream. So I identified with that, and I just ran with it. And later on in life, when I went through a lot of numerology in my name, the coding of my own self, when I got to know myself a lot better, I figured out and found out why I gravitate more so towards the color blue and my brother towards the color red. You know, red pill is part of his name, blue pill is part of my name. This is my God-given name. And when I say my God-given name, I mean the name given to me by my mother. That's right. That's the God. That's right. The goddess. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the red pillar and the blue pillar are two pillars that I identified in Kemet. You know what I'm saying? 125th chapter of the Book of Coming Forth is dealing with the pillars. You know what I'm saying? As you enter the temple, you can't enter any temple without going through those pillars. Those pillars represent portals. You know what I'm saying? So we are the gatekeepers of our community. We are the portals through which many master teachers and many master students have come. We've activated them. Right. You know? So that's why, you know, the blue pill is short for blue pillar. Okay. Technically, you know what I'm saying?
So I
don't hustle Viagra.
You know, we're talking, but I want people to know you more, because to me, the fact that you do come from Brooklyn, New York,
yes,
to me that makes a difference on the knowledge that you're kicking. Being that, as far as me, some of my favorite artists growing up all time and some of the greatest teachers of knowledge for our people come up out of Brooklyn. Dr. Malachi Z. York, you know, to Biggie Smalls, to even Tupac Shakur, to Jay-Z, to even Michael Jordan.
To Nas.
Man.
Nas was born in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that. Eastern Parkway, yeah.
Wow. So what was the influence?
I was born in the Bronx. I was bred in Brooklyn. I spent all of my life, you know what I'm saying, on the streets of Brooklyn. So yeah, that's that BK, and you had to survive all of that. I'm a testament to survival. You know what I mean? I went through a whole lot just to physically be here, conversating with you here on this couch. Lost many of people in that wake and in that walk. So, you know, that's pretty much, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Brooklyn formulated and it formed my whole perspective on life. Now,
as far as Brooklyn goes, we were speaking earlier about it being an island, not connected. Can you explain more? Because I want to know more about it.
Many people, they don't make these references, you know, of course, because we were taught certain ways and we have to be retaught. So Brooklyn is connected to Queens, and Queens is connected to Long Island. And before the European came and started breaking things up, it was all known as, you know, that one Long Island. So Long Island is pretty much the connecting factor of what that entire landmass entails. So Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island are all part of the same landmass. There are fictitious demarcation lines that separate the two, meaning a white man came along and said, where this tree ends and this other tree starts, that's where Queens and Brooklyn separate. There's no physical demarcation lines that separate the two. They're all part of the same landmass.
Now, I have a question. Can we get a picture of the black Indians or even black Californians or even the Olmec picture, please? And the reason I asked that, were there indigenous people living in New York before the Europeans came?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was, the 5 civilized tribes are the indigenous of the entire East Coast. You know, in particular, the Lenape. You know, these are clans and these are families and these are tribes. My family in particular, my tribe was Shinnecock, and they come from the East.
Shinnecock?
Yeah, East Hamptons, where the Hamptons are at, where people, you know, where Diddy and them is partying and throwing it up. That's where the Shinnecock and the Montauk's, you know, and Montauk, was an elder, and his sons were these different clans, the Shinnecock and the Wyandanch and things of that nature. A lot of these places are where from some of our greatest rappers actually came from, and we couldn't make sense of it because we was going off of this fiction and this tale. So we was like, yo, why are these niggas coming out of Long Island and they sick with it? Why is Rakim coming out of Wyandanch? You know, why is EPMD coming out of Brentwood? Why is Public Enemy coming out of motherfucking Freehold and shit like that?
Was it the energy you feel?
It's all about the energy.
The ancestors?
Yes.
Wow. Can you explain for those people who, when we say our ancestors, the energy, are you saying that?
I'm saying that when I studied my history and I found out that, you know, these were my people and who my people were, and why my people in their land has such interest to the European powers at that particular time, the military powers, they came and they took over certain parts of my people's land, the Montauk, and they set up what's called the Montauk experiment. Okay, and this was a continuation of the Philadelphia experiment, where they was using morphogenetic grids. Okay, so the planet Earth is covered by a grid. These grids are connected by ley lines, longitude and latitude lines. If you could picture a grid on the planet, right, that they found out where the center of that, the juncture point of that grid was at, and the juncture point where all of them points met was the easternest point of Long Island, which is where the Montauk had their stuff set up. So they set up these bases out there,
like a mission.
Yeah.
Like, in California, when the Europeans came, is that similar to when the Spanish conquistadors came and took the Indians' land? They forced them on basically reservations, you know, and they became missions. Is that what you're saying they were doing, other than something like the Philadelphia experiment where we're cloaking?
The thing with the Montauks and a lot of things that happened.
Can we get a picture of Atlantis, please? A
lot of things that happened on the east were a lot. They were a little bit more conniving than they happened in the west. The west, they used a lot more force than they did in the east. The east, the way that they jerked a lot of my people out of their land is through the census.
No,
okay, you know, the census, like all of they do the census in this country during a particular time. So they come around and they ask you, are you black, are you Negro, are you colored, right? So they pretty much disenfranchise these group of people through the courts by convincing them that they were black. Okay, so when they disbanded, when they disowned their tribal affiliations and started marking off that I was black, that they was black, right? Because they was pitching them crumbs and stuff like that, and they was telling them things like, you know, y'all black now. So then when they would come to court, the government would come to court and they would be like, look, the Montauk are extinct. You know, the same way that they say about every time that they tell you a tribe is extinct or a tribe disappeared, all of a sudden they changed the identity of those particular tribes.
They changed the name.
Yeah, they changed the names, and the tribes, majority of them capitulated to some point and said that that's who we were and this is who we were not. So they play these games and they run in court and they like, look, if the Montauk ain't here no more, then you should grant us the land. So they had the courts grant the army the land.
Wow.
Okay, so the army took the land and they built these bases up. And like I said, they brought this chair in called the Montauk chair, and they were able to transdimensionally travel through time. Now, Google it, family.
Atlantis.
Look it up yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you can see the truth in this yourself. Now, the story of my people that were on that particular landmass, their surnames were Pharaoh. They had pyramids on this land and everything. Pyramids of Montauk is a book by Peter Moon. Peter Moon has a series of books that he wrote on this information. He was responsible for getting a lot of this information initially out. He sat with the elders and got this information out. So hold on. My people's creation story is that they were the last vestiges of Atlantis. Once Atlantis fell, they were the people that were able to escape, you know, on the waters. Okay, because the eastern part of Long Island is right next to the Atlantic. You know what I'm saying? Right. They said that once Atlantis fell, my people came over and they set up shop on the eastern part of Long Island. Then they said they went out and set up Kemet. Okay, so it is interesting. You know, there's a lot of stories,
just like
a lot of different stories. You know what I'm saying?
I have a question.
Yes.
Now we're talking about the Earth is shaking up are you saying that possibly there's uncovered or undiscovered ancient civilizations that could be now underwater or covered over land, or pyramids?
I'm saying, not only am I saying that, but I'm saying that if we gauge the news stories of the last 5 to 10 years, then you will discover that a lot of these civilizations are, coming to the surface, unearthing themselves. Just in 2012, I took a trip to Mexico. We went to Cozumel, where the Olmecs were located at, and we went to visit our ancestors and do some ancestral ceremonies to tap into that energy grid. We did ritual and everything. When we came back, the same waters that we passed over to get back to the States is the same waters 2 or 3 days later where they found remains. In Cuba, they found remains of Atlantis underneath. So a lot of these stories come out and then they disappear because we don't follow up. We still think that we living in a Disney movie, and the archaeologists and the researchers and everything, they cordon those areas off, and they're doing research for the next 10, 15 years. Rockefeller customer check, they get an endowment fund, and they just down there, searching the artifacts. These things are happening all across the world. They're unearthing stuff. Stuff is popping up everywhere. They find pyramids underwater everywhere.
So would that mean that when people just focus on ancient Egypt and that's the only place, are we saying now, are you confirming, because I say that's
right,
a fact, that there were advanced civilizations before Egypt?
Absolutely.
So that would mean if Egypt was advanced as they were, are you proposing that there were more advanced people before Egypt, and Egypt got their knowledge from these people?
Yes, I'm saying that.
We need more pictures, please.
There's a lot of floating theories around that dynastic Kemet was the fall. You know what I'm saying? So they were saying that what we're witnessing and what we're marveled by in terms of, Egypt on that grand scale, they're saying that was the end of the run. That was actually the end. That was the fall. We caught up on, you feel me? So
do we got any pyramid pictures? Keep going, man.
There were civilizations dotted all around the planet that preceded Kemet that were far advanced.
And so the other day we were talking about the feathered serpent.
Yes, Quasicoto.
Right.
On this side, right.
And now we're starting to see throughout the ancient world and even today mentionings of birds. Yeah. Tall birds, big birds. In ancient Egypt, everyone's focused on the story right now of Horus. You know what I'm saying? And you were saying Quetzalcoatl?
Quasicoto, right.
Quasicoatl.
Right.
I might not be able to pronounce everything all the time correctly.
You in the West, you got to get that together, brother.
Okay.
Quasicoatl, you know what I'm saying? If you want to connect and bond with our brown and Latino brothers, learn the history of Quasicoatl. It's very important. It's integral to the landmass. And that's another thing. I ain't even get into that right now, but we'll segue into that at some point.
Okay. Oh man, so we got a lot to talk about. We're here with the Blue Pill. I'm the Master Jason Elm Street Williams, and you are tuned into What is the Matrix TV. And hopefully when you guys tune into this show every week, I deliver new topics that they're not going to teach you in the church or in the schools, and topics that you might have to research for yourself. And one of the goals for my show is to open up people's minds to the infinite possibilities in this universe. So much and so many times we as people trap ourselves in one ideology. I believe last night you were calling it basically a monolithic way of thinking.
Thought, right.
And for me, I don't walk in that path. I believe that there's different ways to shoot a jump shot. And it's the same way in life. There's different ways to tackle. There's different ways to rap. And so that's the same thing with reaching what you would call enlightenment or endarkenment. All that's within you, and each of us have a different path. But another one of the goals of the show is for What is the Matrix TV is to basically open portals. When I say open portals, there's chambers in our minds that have not been tapped, that have been closed off because of K through 12 and certain religious dogmas. You know,
Yes.
if you take a person who might be a Christian or something, their actual religion and ideology will block their mind from thinking about life on Mars, extraterrestrial beings, you know, the black man being
But-
the true supreme God.
But they waiting on somebody to come out the sky.
And that's the thing, you know.
So I'll let you tell it.
and
You're waiting on a being to descend from the sky, and then in your teaching, you know, you have beings that ascended to the sky. Maybe it's just me, but you're telling me that physical form, dense matter, is now
Move the
defying
screen.
the laws of gravity, whereas a person
Move it.
who has, you know, met physical death on this planet
We can still see it.
is now being lifted into space. But we're telling you at the same time that people are being abducted and lifted into space onto craft, but that shit is different from what you read in your book.
What's the difference between an angel and an alien? You know, when we speak of
Density,
God
yeah.
coming from heaven, heaven has to be a place. So in order for God, according to the scriptures of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, if your God sits on a seat in heaven, and we know heaven can be described as Oranos, and we know Oranos is Orion's belt, that would mean that according to your Bible and scripture, your God is saying that he must sit in some type of craft located in a certain star constellation. When God came down and destroyed the Tower of Babel, he first said, he observed and said, look, at the people have one language and they're all getting along. I'm jealous. And first of all, the God of the Bible said that the people were communicating with their gods, which we would say extraterrestrials, because if according to the book, another group of people were there before God's people building buildings, that's also saying that even in your book, we're talking about advanced technology. If you believe in your book, you know, or it's just fantasy. So when we talk about extraterrestrials and beings coming from outer space, our ancestors left us evidence on the walls. Not this paper. When you go to the Hopi, the Aztec, the Mayans, ancient Asian cultures, they all speak of, even the Zulus, the word